co-hosted by Gary Glenn and William Howington, with help from John Cole.
Well, here we are on the 28th of August, 2024. I'm Bill Lofton. I'm your host with Intelligent Ramblings. Our co-hosts are Mr. John Cone and Mr. Gary Glenn. How is everybody doing? I know one thing you're doing. You're hot.
It is hot.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you got hot and you got damn hot down south.
I was just thinking the same thing.
what those Yankees are experiencing right now, we do it all summer, and it's
Pretty
our
much.
interpretation is damn hot or real damn hot. It's either real hot or real hot. It's hot or real hot, and it's even up another notch. It's real damn hot. Is where we're at right now. This is not normal for August, but we're used to it because it happens pretty much all the time.
We actually had a mild summer last year, so it makes this summer even hotter.
No, August it'll still be hot. It's going to be hot in Georgia till October. I'll get used to it.
Yeah, those folks up north, they'll be catching the fall, and they're not used to this at all. But I mean, even the people out west don't experience what we go through. I mean, they have that dry hot. This is like living in a swamp hot.
Yeah, I think the most humidity I ever experienced, we were down in the Bahamas one time, and you got outside and it was like swimming through the air. It was so thick and humid. I mean, you walk outside and immediately break into a sweat. You don't have to do anything. You just walk outside and sweat.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I went to my daughter's graduation from Marine boot camp, and Parris Island, South Carolina, in August.
Oh yeah.
That was miserable. I mean, it was ridiculous. And what they have to go through in that heat and humidity, that's the lowlands down there in South Carolina.
Yeah,
well, on to the headlines. Supreme Court rebuffs Biden administration plea to restore multi-billion-dollar student debt plan. I've got mixed emotions with this. What's going on with this? They're trying to stop the payment, and people are going, I'm not paying for it. I know I borrowed it to go to college, but I can't afford it, so I'm not paying it. And now Biden's trying to bail them out. I got mixed emotions with it, and the fact that I got a nice little hefty bill that I got to pay. But I knew going in that I was going to have to take that. I knew I was going to have to pay for it, And, but would Biden get this through, I wouldn't have to worry about it, payments for my college education. But guys like Gary and John have already got theirs done and paid for. And there wasn't anybody out there to bail them out. That's the argument of the guys like you that have already taken care of that debt. And, if I got to pay it, I got to pay it, and I will pay it. But, and I've been paying it. But I'd like to have that taken off my shoulders. Yeah, that'd be sweet. But I don't know if it's right. I don't know it's right. And the ones that are going, well, I can't find a job, I'm not paying for it. Well, screw you, asshole. I mean, really? You made the debt, pay it. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I think a couple of things about this really quick. The student loans in general, and in particular the for-profit colleges, are just a terrible mess, and they're predatory. And the rest of the story is this is all caught up in a arm wrestling match between the Supreme Court and the Biden administration over how much you can do by way of executive order. How much can the administration do lacking legislation from our Congress, who are sitting on their hands as usual, or there's a small group of them holding the whole place hostage. It's just a mess everywhere you look. And the good news is, if we were able to forgive that debt somehow, some way, equitably, then it would be a huge boost to the economy.
Huge plus plus.
Yeah. So those are, I sorry to go on, but those are my two thoughts about it.
Well, I too have mixed emotions about it, but when I went into it, I picked up a few scholarships here and there and worked my way through college and borrowed some money. And then when we got done with college, I got married, we made a plan, we paid it back. I thought that was the way you did things. I had no expectations of somebody suddenly going patting me on the head and saying, all that money you owe, we're just going to get that. Somebody pays that money. If it's not me, it's going to be somebody. And I'm not really on board with all that. Now, if you want to put some sort of payment plan in effect, or maybe you go zero interest or something like that. But, there's a huge amount of waste, or as John just said, huge, or as the former president says, huge amount of waste in higher education. All these people that are in there that are not teaching, they're administrators. Now, how many depths of administrators do you have in the major colleges now? And how many of those people do you need? I don't know. I haven't really studied it that much. I just know that there's a whole lot less people teaching than probably should be teaching. And I think that filters sometimes on down to the public and the private school systems and undergraduate schools. So there's a lot of waste. There's a lot of waste that can be taken up. I just look, you guys know that I'm in the school system just about every day, either teaching or coaching. And I see so much waste. It's absolutely incredible. Even in the lunchroom, the amount of food that gets thrown away, just absolutely thrown away, is staggering. And if I multiply that across all of the school systems in the United States, we're talking probably untold hundreds of millions of dollars of stuff that could be taken up. Just a couple of thoughts.
Well, if
I'm not
I was
really in favor of total forgiveness.
If a person that was thinking about going into college or getting out of high school was fixing to start their life, they said, Bill, what do you think about going to college? And I'd go, well, it's a good idea, but you have an alternate situation. It's called technical school. You go in for 2 years and get a job, and it costs you a 15th of what it costs to go to college. You can go to tech school relatively inexpensively and learn a trade. And the thing about it is, come out as a welder making $30 an hour. Where if you come out as an administrator, you're making $15 an hour, but they call it salary.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. We're trying to educate everybody in this country, or at least a lot of people in this country, like everybody's going to be a doctor or a lawyer. Number one, they can't be. Number two, they don't want to be. So we need to maybe think about targeting people as early as middle school, and they do this way in some of the European countries, and see who's going to, what they say, university, or who's going to go into a trade. And there's plenty of money to be made in trades. You don't need a 4-year degree for everything to be making some money. There's the old story about the neurosurgeon that had a leak spring in his midtown penthouse apartment in Manhattan in the middle of the night, and he had to get a plumber up there to fix it. The guy was on site for about 2 hours, and he gave him a bill for $2,000. And the guy said, $2,000? He said, that's $1,000 an hour. I don't make that, and I'm a brain surgeon. And the plumber looked at him and said, I didn't make it when I was a brain surgeon either.
Perfect.
So there's money to be made in other places if that's your goal. Now, if your goal is to be a teacher or something that requires a 4-year degree, like a medical degree or or a dental degree or something like that, then go for it. But keep in mind, this is probably going to cost you some money up front. But be prepared to pay it back.
Absolutely. Next on the agenda, President Trump. From the Guardian is where I got this to say I'm not just making this up as I go. Trump repeatedly broke away from the prepared speech about economics to make rambling claims that Harris was both a fascist, I can't say that word. Fascist. I still can't say it. Anyway, Harris was both a fascist and a communist, which are two different things, and to attack her, laugh as crazy of a crazy person and a lunatic, to claim he was more than beautiful than her. By the time it stopped, 100 minutes later, a large number of the state's 8,000 seats had emptied. I think they're getting tired of him. I think they're getting tired of the rambling. And you know, why hadn't the press gone after his age like they're going after Biden's? You know, they've left him alone.
Most of the press despises him anyway. So, I mean, and some of it is absolutely palpable. It's just disgust. And I think if they did anything more than that, they'd be called out even more than they already are. Oh, I think this is starting to catch up with it. Men, I'll tell you one thing. I thought, and I think that maybe I've said it on this show, I know I've said it elsewhere. After that assassination attempt, I thought he was unbeatable. You know, that business about holding the defiant fist up and, you know, looking like your all-American guy, I said he's unbeatable. But he went back to doing the same thing that he's been doing, which is rambling on and attacking people personally, not telling about programs and stuff like that. And it's finally catching up to him. The latest poll from Fox News, might I add, understand what I just said. Fox News poll shows that now Kamala Harris is ahead of Trump by 2 points in Georgia. Now think about that.
I hadn't seen
Think
that
about that. Yeah. Just came out, John. Just came out.
Fox.
It was on the evening news tonight. And now Harris and Waltz are doing a big bus tour through South Georgia to even bolster that further. So right now, this thing's a toss-up, and it'll be interesting to see how this debate plays out, and if he makes some of the same gaffes that Biden did in his term.
Mm-hmm.
If so, it's going to really swing to Ms. Harris and Mr. Waltz.
I don't think that it'll be as big a. I don't think he'll be able to handle Kamala like he did Biden. I really don't. I think she's tough, and she is a extremely good speaker. That's one thing I miss about Biden. Was Obama was his speeches were so good. He could just draw you in, and you just kind of sit there going, "Oh my God, this guy is amazing." He had a great message, and he was a great speaker, and he was a great president. I don't give a shit what anybody says, but he really was, and I think that Kamala look at him, and when he starts running his mouth and say, "Excuse me, it's my turn to talk. You don't need to talk."
There's even a debate now on whether or not they're going to be able to mute the microphones between the times they allow them to talk. You know, the last debate they muted the microphones. There's even some kind of debate right now about what that's going on, and both sides are looking at the pros and cons of that. I'll be interested to see how it all plays out. You know, the two moderators on ABC. It's going to be an ABC News debate, and the two moderators are pretty good at what they do. So we'll see.
Do you happen to know who the moderators are, Gary? David
Muir and the woman that sits in with him. And I'm sorry, I can't remember her name because she's not on every night.
I don't know.
I knew Muir is one of them. You can probably look it up right quick, Bill, or John. Just type it in.
Yeah.
It says,
he's one of the. Muir is one of the most respected journalists in the country. So, hopefully, the candidates will give him the respect that he deserves.
Well, I think they'll probably hold both of them's feet to the fire. I think they're going to try to play it pretty straight. Now I wouldn't let I wouldn't let John Carl get on there with Trump. Yeah, that's it's just he's just he's a little bit too slanted for me, even with Trump. So
Lindsay
it's,
Davis is the name of the
there,
other
there you go.
moderator.
Yes, David Muir and Lindsay Davis. Yes, I think she sat in for him a time or two on the evening news.
Well,
Okay.
I think it is wearing thin, and I think it was showing up in the poll numbers even while Biden was a candidate. You know, it's like neither
If
one of them could get any traction.
no,
They were
it,
their unfavorable ratings were such that neither one of them could break out from the other.
uh, if Trump had stuck more to the issues and less to the personal attacks, I think it would. I think the country would swing for him. Because let's face it, I mean, we all have felt the pinch of higher prices and inflation. Nobody is immune to that unless you are extremely wealthy. Um, and like it or not, the administration that's in charge, and that usually means occupying the White House, gets more credit for what's good and more blame for what's bad than they probably deserve.
Very
So
true.
right
Very
now,
true.
it's not a good situation for your average Jane and Joe out there trying to make ends meet, whether or not you're having to repay your student loan.
It's not good, but it's getting better.
It
And
is
I
getting better.
saw gas, regular unleaded, for less than $3, three different places over the past 2 weeks.
And
It's
the
gone back
economy,
up for Labor Day, but
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, it yo-yoed right back up, and that's
it
yeah,
because
seems
they
like
can.
the economy is stabilizing now. I mean, they're talking about the Fed giving us a break here pretty quick.
yeah,
Um,
that'll happen in a few days, like 2 weeks from now.
it's a horrible picture, and this picture is of a child in Gaza. The child was happy and moving around and doing what kids do, and then all of a sudden they noticed that his leg wasn't moving, and then he got sick. First time in 25 years, polio has been
Really.
found in Gaza. Now,
Hmm.
if I don't tell you the horror that's going on right there in Gaza right now, I know Israel's got a right to protect itself, but and I got to thinking about it this afternoon. Did we do this when we were coming into Germany in World War II? Did we just annihilate the cities and the people that were in them?
In some cases, yes, we did. The
I mean,
Allies,
not to speak of Japan. I mean, we all know
yeah,
what we did to them.
yeah, there were entire cities in Germany that were firebombed to the
I was in
ground.
one.
Like,
I was in one.
was it Dresden?
John, yeah, it was Dresden. I was in Dresden. We were over there for one of our world meets, and there they had like I don't want to say sculpture, but there were remains of the buildings that were twisted, the steel and the concrete and all melted together. The firestorm was so great at that place.
Mhm.
At that point, it was one of those things that it was going as hell bent for leather and go for broke, and we're going to break their back, and they did.
Yeah,
But they
And of
didn't
course,
have the reporters everywhere. There were
well,
no.
no, no, and if I don't think we indiscriminately targeted hospitals and schools. Uh, Israel has done that on the basis of the fact that Hamas hides under these places.
yeah.
I kind of think they proved their point. It's time to wrap this up precisely from what you see in there. And if diseases like polio can get back into the mainstream, you're going to have all the people that are anti-vaccine, and you're going to have a mess.
Well, I think Yahoo is they're going into the today they had the biggest attack on the West Bank that they've had in 20 years today. So I think he's doing a land grab now. I think he's trying to, and he said that's just part of war. You know, Gary, I think you're right. Where does it end? Where does it end?
Well, it's well past the point where they need to cease fire and find some way to finish it and stop things like what's happening to that poor little kid from happening.
Yeah, that's the nature. The nature of negotiation and compromise is neither side gets everything they want, but come to some sort of equitable solution that both can live with and not die from.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem. Is Hamas is saying, no, we're not going to do what you want. This is what we want to get this done, and we still got your hostages, of which I think the majority are probably already gone. I don't think they're alive. I think that they have some, but they don't have. I mean, they just found like 6 or 7 last week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the hostage issue is a terrible thing, and I know if it was my family member, how I would feel about it. But it's not. I don't think that's an issue anymore. I mean, I think that they need to. The Hamas needs to go. Hey, okay, whatever you need, we'll do it. I mean,
Yeah.
And they're not going to do that because they don't give a damn about their people. Those aren't their people. Those are just pawns that they can use,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for worldwide sympathy. But for the horrendous act that they did. But, you know, it needs to stop, period, for those civilians. No doubt about that.
Well, on the other side of the world,
There's some pissed off women right there, buddy. Ecuador citizens voted to stop oil drilling in the heart of the Amazon. A year later, it hasn't happened. It's been a year since they voted and said quit drilling in the Amazon. And nothing has been done to stop shutting down operations. And that's not even the worst part. The government is now seeking a 5-year extension for the state-run oil company to get out. That's what it's all about. It's about oil. And they're destroying stuff that can't be replaced.
Yeah, I hate it for those unhappy Ecuadorians and the rest of us, but it's going to be that way for a while. They're not going to stop drilling for oil anywhere, not anytime soon.
well, the thing about it is we've got plenty of oil in reserves,
Right?
and I don't know what else you need. I mean, you know, Bill, you're right. You start monkeying around with the Amazon rainforest, and you're going to kill a great source of the oxygen for the whole world. I don't know why people
Amazon
can't see
stores
things like that.
The Amazon stores over 150 billion metric tons of carbon, absorbs 2 billion tons of CO2 each year. Now, what are we going to do without that? You think we got pollution now? If we don't have the Amazon absorbing this, we're screwed. This is planetary. Now, this is one place where I think we ought to put boots on the ground and go over there and say, okay, obviously you're not intelligent enough to know what you're doing to our planet, and we're going to stop it now. That would be boots on the ground. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. I would go in there and take over and, you know, kick everybody out of the damn Amazon. No, it's not going to happen. But
That ain't
you
ever
know,
going to happen.
it's not. it's it would cost too much money. That's the problem.
Well,
And that's what it's all about right
Well,
there is the dollars.
The dollar signs.
I tell my kids in school, I said, listen, if you don't remember anything else Coach Glenn says today, remember this. When somebody tells you it's not about the money, reach for your wallet, because 9 times out of 10, it's about the money.
Yeah.
Follow the money. You know, why do you think Putin, we haven't even touched that conflict in this conversation, we're about out of time. Why do you think he went to the Ukraine? Because it's very rich in minerals and all that kind of stuff. That's why they're there. And that translates into money, which translates into power. Duh.
Yeah, if he's got, not to segue away from those poor people in Ecuador, but he's got both sides of the entrance to the Black Sea. He's sitting in Crimea and the original Russian territories on the western side. It's just a strategic place to be, and he's not going to give it up.
No. No.
But I think he's going to. I think I think his doom is coming soon. I think them going into Russia and taking a little territory and going, hey, you know, look at here, we just took a hunk of your land, buddy. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Bring it. You know.
I think the Russian people may be getting sick of all of this too.
That is the thing that might turn it right there is if somebody can organize and survive long enough to challenge him, who knows what could happen.
Well, it ended the Cold War, didn't it? When the Russian people got sick of it and broke up the old Soviet Union. That was an economic thing. It wasn't military or threats. It was economics. Russian people got sick of it, and Gorbachev got out while the getting was good.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And they did.
I knew that was coming.
That was really good, Gary. That was really good.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll have
Thank you very much.
Have you on the show as our voice guy. Well, you are the voice guy for the show, but I'm talking about coming in and doing some of those. I think that would be quite entertaining.
I want Elvis to make an appearance.
He already has once. Remember, Bill played that clip of me singing at the reunion.
Oh yeah.
He's probably still got it somewhere. That actually was pretty good.
Speaking of reunion, really quick, we had the class of 1974 Jefferson High School 50th reunion this past weekend, and
And you're old.
Yeah, I am. 50 years, and there were people there that I had not seen for 50 years since the evening we graduated. It was good to see them, and the people that organized it and got it together. My hat is off to them because they did a great job.
Yeah, I'm even older than you are. Joe Massey, who was one of the class of 74, sent me a text and asked me if I had some memories of Coach Lofton and Coach Stoudemire and Coach Keene, stuff like that. And I called him up, filled his ear up pretty good with some of that stuff. Yeah. About your dad, Bill, and Stud and Coach Keene. We really had good men, didn't we, huh, as coaches?
Oh, we were fortunate. That was not your typical situation.
Guys, we're out of time.
We're blessed. All right.
We're out of time.
College football.
We're going to go to a commercial, and then we'll come back with college football. Woo! Well, here we are with college football. 2024. Everybody ready for the Dogs to jump on some Clemson stuff this weekend?
Mm-hmm.
We are ready. I think that I had some thoughts about that game. I think some people are expecting a real blowout. And I think what we might see from Georgia is a lot more controlled, run game oriented offense. And so the score might be something like Georgia 28, Clemson 20 or 24, something like that.
Well, let's get right to it, John.
So,
Clemson, Georgia. Number 1, Georgia, minus 13.5 at number 14, Clemson in Atlanta, what Georgia calls their second home field. These teams opened up the season in Charlotte, North Carolina in 2021, and the Bulldogs launched a national title run with a 10-3 victory. The Tigers were about a 3-point favorite heading into the game, which pretty much sums up the trajectory of these programs since going into Saturday's tilt, which has Clemson, in my opinion, going down. My pick, Georgia by 21.
Well, I'm picking Georgia, but I'm not sure it'll be by 21. But we'll see. John's point may be well taken, but I think if the Dogs get on top, they're going to pour it on. They're not going to try to leave any room for doubt, not going to try to leave any room for any kind of a comeback. If Clemson keeps it close in the fourth quarter, anything can happen. I don't think Georgia wants to see that, take the chance that they will. Georgia's loaded again this year. Let's face it. They're the either number 1 or number 2 pick at just about every poll you see. Most people have them number 1. Sports Illustrated has them number 2, and Ohio State number 1. If you haven't seen the college and pro football issue of Sports Illustrated, pick it up if you can. You can probably get it online, or you can probably find it at a newsstand. There's some great articles on that, particularly about what Ohio State did in the offseason and how they effectively used the transfer portal, how they went out and got some really top-tier coaches, and they really want to beat the team from up north. They don't even say Michigan at Ohio State. It's taboo to say Michigan. You never say just the team from up north. That's what they want to compete with, and that's who they want to beat, particularly since Michigan won it all last year and won undefeated.
John, any more to say on that?
You heard my thoughts. I'm sorry I spoke out of turn, but I think it's going to be somewhat less than a blowout. They're not going to open the playbook for a non-conference game. So that's what I think. Something like 28 to 20 or 24, something like that.
Well, we'll have to make our picks more detailed by saying by 7 or by 6 or by however many. That's obvious.
Well, Clemson ranks in just about everybody's top 15 or so. So I think it'll be a pretty good ball game. And now you guys remember when it was a really heated rivalry, and Georgia and Clemson just hated one another.
Yeah,
it's tailed off since we're starting to play more conference games now. Those, of course, mean more, particularly now that everything is messed up. I say messed up, but you don't have an East and West in the SEC anymore. ACC welcoming some new people as well, and so and when it comes down to who's going to get into the CFP, college football playoffs, at the end, your strength of schedule is going to figure in that too, which is probably what kept Florida State out of the playoffs last year. Now I know that Georgia just took them to the woodshed when they played them in the bowl game, but see, that wasn't the same Florida State team. Right. After they discovered they weren't going to make the Final Four, they just didn't care anymore, and it pretty much showed when Georgia whipped them that badly. And speaking of which, Florida State, wow! I listened to the last. My wife and I had finished watching our grandsons play football on Saturday, and I searched up and down the radio dial till I finally found Tech. You can find Georgia on the radio in just a heartbeat. You have to look for Tech. I finally found them and listened to the last of that game, and I could not believe it. I could not believe it.
I watched the
that
whole
Tech
game
won
and
that
enjoyed
game.
it, every minute of it.
I did too.
It was a good game. We're going on to the next game. Akron plus 50.5 at number 2, Ohio State. Well, the Buckeyes have not lost to an in-state school since 1921. Akron lost 10 games last year in the MAC East. This is going to be brutal. Ohio State's third and fourth team will score a lot of points. Ohio State in a blowout by 45.
I'm not even going to say that. I'm going to say Ohio State in a you name it, and I think they can name their score.
Yeah,
I think Bill,
just,
the word Bill used is right. It's going to be brutal.
I think you're right.
I mean, there's not a whole lot you can say about that game. I mean, it's just, why in the hell's Akron scheduling Ohio State? I mean, except for the money.
Yeah, that's what it is. These little schools get a huge payday.
Yeah.
They get their kids to play in front of the biggest crowd they'll see all year.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is they hope to get the exposure, let their kids see what top tier talent looks like, and just hope and pray nobody gets hurt.
Go Akron Zips.
Go Zips.
Yeah. They'll be zipping them up after that game.
Oregon against Idaho plus 44. 49-game starter transfer from Oklahoma, Dylan Gabriel is surrounded by a lot of talent and should make a deep run in the playoffs. But they do have Ohio State, Michigan, and Washington on their schedule. The Vandals might stay with them for a quarter, but Oregon lays into them in the second. Oregon by 30.
Well, Oregon's got a very experienced quarterback, and he's not going to get flustered by anything. So, yeah, you'd be pretty much right on it right now. Again, a you name it score. And the third and fourth team will see a lot of action, which is good. Helps those kids
I'm really interested to see. I'm really interested to see what Oregon does with this game. There's something about that team that has my interest, and I don't know. I think it's going to be worth watching.
Well,
that team being Oregon.
I got Oregon ranked third, and I was questioning that if I shouldn't have ranked them second.
Which I did. I do have them as number 2 at the end of the season.
So I think I may have made a mistake in that. Colorado State at number 4, Texas, minus 32.5. Longhorns running back depth has been depleted by injuries. Texas has lost a second running back to a season-ending injury, leaving Jaden Blue as the only scholarship player with significant experience. Can he hold up in the SEC? Colorado State ain't the SEC. Texas by 28.
Well, Texas, of course, has got a pretty experienced quarterback, but they've also got young Manning waiting in the wings in case they would falter. So I think Texas can survive an injury or two here and there because they've probably got some fairly significant depth.
They got one kid that's got any experience at all. Who's their number 2 running back now has 0 experience. But Herschel Walker didn't have any experience his freshman year either, so who knows?
True. And
that was great.
That's a long time.
Oh, what a flashback!
that was in Joel. What was his name? What was it? The defensive back for Tennessee.
Oh, Bill Battle.
Not Bill
Bates.
Bates.
He went on with a very, very promising pro career with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, was a all-pro defensive back. Herschel ran over his ass. I mean, it wasn't.
Trucked him.
He trucked him, John. You are correct. trucked. What can you say? So
Well,
I
now,
agree on-
the running back is still an important weapon in college football, but they're starting to be like the pros. They're just throwing it, throwing it, throwing it. So perhaps not as important as it used to be because you've got linebackers and cornerbacks that are just about maybe 5 or 10 pounds heavier than your running back and almost as fast. So it's no, don't get me wrong. I mean, run the ball. Billy or Daddy used to say, "Run 14 blasts till they stop you." And if you can do that, God bless you, go for it. But most college defenses don't allow that now.
Western Kentucky at number 5, Alabama, minus 31.5. Well, the Kalen DeBoer era begins for the Crimson Tide. The Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky will get their grass mowed close to the ground. Alabama by 28.
Well, yeah, Milroe is a Heisman contender, and he's still a quarterback. He's got plenty of experience. He took a lot of the blame on them not making the final game upon himself. But, in a game that close, one play can seem to decide it, but it's all up and down through the whole game. Those plays get made. And they're just as important in the second quarter as they are at the end. Touchdown in the second quarter is still 6 points, isn't it? If you can get one.
All the time. Well, I think it's like you guys have been saying, the second, third, and fourth string are going to be out there pretty early. And hopefully the Hilltoppers, I love that name. It's right up there with the Zips for me. I hope they get through it without anybody getting hurt badly and make a good showing somehow, some way.
Fred Talbert's giving you some credit, John, some props.
Wow, thank you, Fred.
Yeah, John was the only one that picked Tech to win that thing.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that was an intelligent choice, John.
That was very intelligent.
My thinking, really quick, was that Georgia Tech needed to keep FSU off the field, which they did as much as possible. And those games come down to who's got the ball last. And fortunately for Tech, it went their way.
I was really impressed with the quarterback. He had his head screwed on right the whole game, and he made the difference. Especially that last long run he made. I mean, he got him down to like the 4-yard line from about 30. So that was the knife that went in the back.
If you can keep it close in the fourth quarter, sometimes those favored teams, that sphincter gets a little tighter. The whole thing starts getting a little tighter, right? And all of a sudden things start happening for you and happening against them. I've seen that at all levels of athletics. The favored people, when the underdog starts playing them tight, they get a little nervous, and then that just compounds the problem. That's exactly what happened with Florida State. I don't think it's going to happen again this week. I think they're going to be pissed off.
I would hate to play Florida State.
I think Tech's got their attention.
Furman versus Ole Miss. Furman has a good team, but in their own league.
Yeah.
Ole Miss coach Lane Kiffin will try to make this not close, but Ole Miss is less than what Kiffin wants by 14. I think that Kiffin will put 70 points on you. We all know that. And, I know I'm having wishful thinking right here, but I'd really like to see Furman have a great game. And as the first game of this season, you've got all these transfer players, that Ole Miss has. You don't know if they're going to gel or not, and hopefully they don't gel. And I would love to. I mean, the chances of an upset victory for Furman are like none, but I I live close to South Carolina border, so I keep up with, you know, with Furman, because they're from Greenville, and I wish them luck. And I know Freddie Topper's got a special place in there in his heart for them as well.
Right.
Yeah, played for Furman. But let's face it, the Southern Conference is not the SEC.
No,
And Ole Miss, by everybody's reckoning, even though they lost some people to transfer, is in the SEC, and then by everybody's reckoning is a top 10 team. So, not just us picking Ole Miss. A lot of people are.
Yeah, I think if Ole Miss is prepared, that's the thing about Lane Kiffin teams. It's like sometimes they get into a game and it looks like they hadn't practiced all week, and but sometimes they hit on all cylinders, and those games they turn into a track meet. But how did you pick them, Bill? Was it 14 points?
yeah, I got about 14. It's wishful thinking.
I think it might be more than that. It might be.
It might be 40. I mean,
Oh, I was going to say 21, but
if their transfer team, the Ole Miss transfer team, gels and plays a good game, it'll be 40 points. I mean, because he'll never take his foot off the gas.
no.
He's not one of those coaches. He's one of the ones that'll put 75, 80 points on you if he can. Just because he can. I think Lane Kiffin's a great coach, but I also think he's an asshole. And kind
of like Steve Spurrier.
I definitely was definitely not disliked, but really thought less of Nick Saban when he hired him. I was like, really? Our cheer was, fuck you one time, fuck you two times, fuck you all the time. Okay.
Bill says the quiet part out loud.
Oh. Or is it Furman University one time, Furman University two times? Or Furman, maybe that's what it was. You know my mind, where it goes.
That's what it. Well, I heard somebody sprayed preparation H on Lane Kiffin. He almost disappeared.
That would not surprise me at all. Notre Dame at number 20, Texas A&M -3. A season high of expectations for Fighting Irish coach Marcus Freeman, who is 19-8 in 2 seasons at Notre Dame, who did a tremendous job at Duke. He was a great coach. This is really a bad spot for the Irish to break in an almost entirely new starting offensive line. Freeman will be 19-9 come Sunday. Texas A&M by 7.
I disagree with you there. I think it pains me to do it because I really don't like Notre Dame all that much, but I think they're gonna try to prove something this year. And they did. You mentioned Duke; they got a transfer or two from Duke, didn't they, in the transfer portal? So I think some other people are trying to bolster the Irish's chance. I'm going to go with Notre Dame.
Did they get Duke the Duke quarterback?
I
know he transferred.
They did.
Yeah.
Well,
but he's nursing an ankle right now, or was. Dombrowski.
He will make a tremendous difference because he was Duke's team last year. He was, well, he wasn't a team, but he made a difference last year. When he was playing, Duke didn't lose. When he didn't play, they lost.
I went back and forth about this game, and at one point I had Texas A&M because it's in Kyle Stadium, the 12th man. It's going to be hot as blazes, and Notre Dame. So it's a hostile, difficult environment for any football team, but Notre Dame has a good team, They're in year 3 of Freeman's program, and I think they're just going to have their schedule's not that hard. They're going to have a good year, and I think they're going to get it off to a good start here. And I will say,
I think
I was just going to say Notre Dame by 10.
I misspoke. Dombrowski's another guy. Riley Leonard is the quarterback that transferred from you. Riley
Leonard. I didn't recognize the name, but
yeah, Leonard
Riley
is the
Leonard.
guy, and he can run and he can throw. So if he's clicking, the Irish have got a potent weapon at quarterback.
I still think they're playing there at Texas A&M, and
I'm like John. I went back and forth on this one too, but I'm going to stick with my gut. My gut says the Irish, so I'm picking that.
Well, good. That'll give me a chance to leapfrog over both of you.
Good luck with that, bro.
Thanks, John. I appreciate the confidence you have in me.
Hey, it's every man for himself when it comes to picking ball games.
That's right. Penn State -4 at West Virginia. James Franklin, head coach of Penn State, needs to win to make a statement. Penn State seems to win all their games other than the ones that count. Last year, only losing to conference foe Michigan and Ohio State, and then getting whacked by Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl. Penn State by 3. I think it's going to be a close one.
I think it's going to be a close one too, and they're always good. The Nittany Lions are always good on defense, and they've got a better offense, I think, this year. So, I think we'll pick Penn State on this one.
I think James Franklin is one of those guys where Gary was talking about, where if you covered them with Preparation H, they disappear. But Penn State, I say Penn State by 7 points. I think West Virginia is going to give them fits before it's all over, but Penn State will win.
Fresno State plus 21.5 at Michigan.
Ooh.
I wouldn't want to play at Michigan. Who's playing quarterback for the defending national champions? Alex Orji, a junior who was utilized as a change of pace rushing quarterback last season, and Davis Warren, a senior and former preferred walk-on who calls a fighter, are competing. Might be a new quarterback, but Michigan has too much talent. Michigan by 10. I don't think they're going to go out and blow them out because, like I said, they got a new coach, new quarterback. They don't even know who the quarterback is. It's going to be a game day decision. So I think Fresno State might just stay in there with them for a while. Well, this could be the upset of the week.
Yeah, Fresno has shown some flashes in games in the past, but I think Michigan has got something to prove. They're really stung, even though they lost a bunch off of the national championship team, which did go undefeated. We might add. I think they may have something to prove, and I don't think they're going to take this game for granted. I think they're going to come to play.
I agree with Gary. I think they've got something to prove. Jim Harbaugh's moved on to the pros, and they want to show that they can keep winning. And even though Fresno State are the Bulldogs, I still pick Michigan.
Okay. Fresno State was 9-4 last year, and they play in that conference with Boise State and those guys out in the Mountaineer, Mountain West, whatever it is, which isn't a real tough conference, but they still play some pretty good ball at times. Boston College at number 10 Florida State, minus 15.5. Seminoles look to shake off a loss to Georgia Tech on Monday with his mostly transfer team. Head coach Mike Norvell and the Seminoles might be in trouble already, with Notre Dame, Clemson on the schedule. It's Bill O'Brien's first game as the BC Eagles coach. FSU will light up BC by 21.
Yeah, you want to say Boston College is not Clemson, and they're not Notre Dame. So I think, and I think the Seminoles are smarting after that loss in way over there in Ireland, where they play a different kind of football, but they played American football to a sold out crowd. I'm sure that was a pretty hefty payday too for both teams to get them over there. But I think Florida State is going to handle this one.
Well,
I do
one thing
too.
I
They get
mentioned.
it.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
John. I'm.
Oh, go ahead.
Let me just stick this in real fast. The one thing I mentioned earlier was, do these transfer teams, when they bring in half their team on the transfer portal, do they gel? Well, I don't think FSU gelled last week against Georgia Tech, and I think they'll be a different team this week.
Well, I think
almost.
Florida State has a good team. Last week, Georgia Tech hit them in the mouth and kept on going. And the good news for Florida State is they get an extra day to practice. They can recover a little more, and I think they're the good parts of their team are going to have more of an advantage in this game. Obviously, it's not the Doug Flutie Boston College that we used to watch, but so yeah, I've got Florida State here too.
Well, and too, guys, almost every coach at every level of football will tell you that the most improvement you see on a team a lot of times are from game 1 to game 2. And this will be game 2 for Florida State, where Boston College has not played. And I think Florida State saw a lot of holes, and they're patching them up. Yeah. I think the Seminoles may be a force before it's all over with.
Norval's a good coach. He's proven that. And I think that Florida State will – I think they're a playoff team. I really do. Even though they blew it, they got blown out by Tech.
Well,
Number 13, Louisiana State University, -4.5 versus number 23, USC. And it's in Las Vegas. Trojans got a frog in my mouth again. Trojans coach Lincoln Riley has not exactly been instilling confidence in the USC faithful lately. With 5 losses last year, LSU, though, enters this Sunday's showcase after losing 2 straight marquee openers under Brian Kelly. Coach Kelly won't let this happen again. The Trojans slip by this. LSU by 21. I think I'm going to blow out damn Trojans. I'm really going to enjoy it, too. I don't care much for LSU, but I really don't like it USC.
Yeah, I think LSU is going to have this one. But it might be pretty good.
I think it'll be a
tradition.
I think it'll be a good game for a little while, and then, like you're saying, Billy, LSU's going to take control, and USC is not going to be in the top 25 next week.
No, I don't think so. I think Lincoln Riley has moved to USC, and Hollywood was a mistake. Should have stayed at Oklahoma, where he had a pretty good thing going on.
I don't know what's going on with USC, but they cannot get a coach out there that makes a difference.
No, it's been years and years and years now. They used to be the premium team on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. They're not anymore.
With Heisman Trophy candidates every year.
Yeah.
Miami -2.5 at the Florida Gators. The Gators and the Hurricanes renew their rivalry, but anxiety about third-year coaches Billy Napier of Florida, who was 5-7 last year, and Mario Cristobal of Miami, who was 7-6 last year, is high with those respective fan bases. This game is at the Swamp, and the Gators are going to be biting. Am I doing it right? I'm trying to get, there it is.
It's the most awkward cheer in college football.
Florida,
The whole Gator chomp
uh,
thing.
Florida,
Oh
Florida by
God.
7. Florida by 7.
uh, I can't bring myself to pick the Gators. Sorry.
I can.
uh, Miami is about as bad, but I think Miami is going to take this one. But this was a coin flip. I mean, come on.
The only reason
So
I'm
I'll go
picking
with
Florida is they're playing at the Swamp.
yeah, that could be the difference. I'll still stick with Miami. I'll take my lumps on this one if they go down.
I went back and forth and finally settled on Miami because Florida has forgotten how to win. They can't play their way out of a wet paper bag, and they have some talent, but um, I think they lost 4 out of the last 5 games in the season last year, and they're not going to start winning this week either. I think Miami's just good enough to win in Gainesville.
All righty.
Well, gentlemen, that completes our forecast for this next coming week. We'll be doing this every Wednesday night. And we got a new contest going. That if you go to Intelligent Ramblings group on Facebook, it's Intelligent Ramblings Friends, and you can look up the details, but we're giving away a free t-shirt to the first person that goes 10 for 10 on the picks. Look for the rules and the regulations and all that stuff on the Facebook page, and that's the Intelligent Ramblings Friends. That's how you find it. It's on Facebook. Good luck, everybody. And
All
we're
right.
gonna
Good luck.
take a quick break, and we'll be back with our afterthoughts. Well, guys, that was the actual 49th episode of Intelligent Ramblings, and
Wow.
we are going to have our 50th anniversary next week.
Woo-hoo.
And we will be back with our panel discussion up to 8:30, and at 8:30 we will go to college football, and we're going to keep that format for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Love your comments. We'd love to know what you think about it. Anybody got any last finishing remarks?
If you have time Friday night, go check out a high school football game somewhere. And if you got kids that are playing football, go support them. Or in my case,
That's when they're still playing, period, for the win. You don't have to worry about the NIL or their salary or anything like that. They're playing to win, period.
And they're playing for fun. They're playing because they're having a good time. Most of those kids are not going to play at the next level or the level after that. They're done after high school, so they're out there having some fun on a Friday night. So go watch them. Or my grandkids play on Saturdays, and that's even more fun because they're just out there throwing it around. And sometimes, although my 8-year-old grandson played on a team last week that ran a counter, and they're 8. Of course, he is playing for he is playing for Buford. So
Gary, I have fun. My closing remark is I enjoy seeing pictures of your grandkids enjoying sports. That is really good.
They love it. They love it. They love it. They even play bad. I keep trying to get them to wrestle, John, because I tell them it'll help their football. But they're right now that I can't get them away from basketball in the wintertime. But I'm working on it. We'll see.
Guys, I enjoyed it. I enjoy talking with you guys. We have good conversation, and we would We appreciate the folks that are watching right now, and
Yeah,
we'll
thank
look
you.
forward to the people. We appreciate the people that tune us in later and see the show. And the college football portion of the show will be rebroadcast every Wednesday night on Intelligent Ramblings College Football channel on YouTube, which is Intelligent College Football.
Cool.
Anyway, everybody have a great evening, and we will be talking to you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, all.
Good night. Thank you.